Hi, I'm Dave. I work for Red Hat. I worked there for about 2 years, and I came up through the electronics manufacturing industry. As I designed hardware and wrote software for a long time, and kind of saw the writing on the wall, and bailed on that, and got into the IT stuff full time. Been doing that for a long, long time, and I've seen a lot of crazy configurations and things, and you're amazed what people will do with the tools you give them. And so you're like, oh, I've never thought of that before. I guess that can work that way too. It creates interesting situations. Anyway, I spent the last 2 years in the trenches working for Red Hat doing OpenStack deployments. Run into some amazing problems, and I say it's the trenches because if there's one last bastion of people that are traditional IT infrastructure, it's NOCs and operations teams. Really, the concept of automation is not new. It's been a long, long time people have been using shell scripts, Python, whatever. The cool thing that's happened in recent years is you actually have frameworks you can spend the time working on your automation instead of the way to automate things. We're no longer doing things in our own little vacuum with scripts to glue stuff together. We can share ideas, we can share templates, come up with new ideas, see new ways to do things. I think that's been very beneficial and has gotten a lot of innovation going in the industry. Unfortunately, when I walk into these companies, there's two mistakes that are typically made when they do this. The first is that the conversion of the old automation is the entire project, and they try to jam it in and do it all at once. And it's like, no, you need to back up. You need to take baby steps. Let's get OS loaded. Let's get this step. Let's add this feature in. Let's not add all 6 kinds of storage at once. Let's make that so it's usable. The second mistake is not taking into account that different points of your process are gateways in your company currently in the traditional infrastructure, and they have different requirements and ways they go about things. So I had one person say, hey, I got all my RSA keys and my users for my ops teams all put into the infrastructure templates. And I'm like, okay, well, how many sites do you have? And they're like 300. And I'm like, so you're going to run a stack update on all 300 sites every time someone leaves your team? I don't think so. You got to pick the right tool for the job. OpenStack is infrastructure and provisioning. It's not a user account management. It's not a lot of other things that people try to do with it. You got to have directory services. You got to have auditing and logging, and that's typically for multiple clusters, not just the one. You have these silos of business controls, and they all have to be able to propagate and get change in without stepping on each other. Applications, accounts, vulnerability remediation, application development frameworks, and they all need to work together. You have to sort those things out as best as you can. And like I say, break up those into manageable pieces, get the automation going. Then you can start stitching things together where it's appropriate, where it works, and you get a good flow to your process. There's a lot of people that don't do that. Use the solutions where that makes sense. Use an LDAP directory for your user role groups and just have static groups you push out with your servers so you don't ever have to go back and instrument or change that again. It really makes a big difference when you don't have to do those things. Use a management solution for OS packages. Use lifecycle release management and remediating vulnerabilities. Use application frameworks like containers for application code. I've had people try to jam applications in on OS images. It's a bad idea. There is one still unsolved problem, though, is how do you get all these disparate systems to talk to each other and keep them from stepping on each other? And I see a huge opportunity in the market for business controls and business rules engines that can tap into containers and things like OpenStack. If we take a step back from all those and where all that focus is, that's I think the next hot thing coming. First it was OpenStack, now it's containers, now it's like how do we tail and bring all those things into the business so that they all talk together and we can manage this in an intelligent way? How do we manage our clouds? How do we manage our storage? How do we manage our remediations and updates? How do we manage databases? A lot of things still have big, huge back-end databases. They have to play nice. How do we automatically provision networks instead of having pulling network teams in? This is what will ultimately break or make an automated deployment for your data center. Getting all those processes and controls to work together with the environment, not step on each other, and be able to get the right pieces of automation in the right place to be able to do the things that you need to do. It makes sense, but is so often overlooked in scoping a project. Most of the time it goes into integrating the components of the software and hardware and business controls and user management. And that's where you lose your time, is trying to make those interfaces to those other systems. There are some solutions out there, I think, that are making progress on this problem, but there is not that killer app out there, and it is a huge market for it. There's a a lot of potential here, that I see people like this in DevOps communities able to get around and rally around that and come up with the ideas. So anyway, that's my experience in that, and thanks for listening. And if you want to get a hold of me, please let me know.